Hey everybody, welcome to the channel that takes you deep inside the San Francisco 49ers. I'm your host, Jack Hammer, and I got a special guest with me today. I got Jonnydel from Jonnydel's Football Academy, and we are getting ready. We're going to be talking about the 49ers' dominant performance from their linebackers against Arizona, and we're also going to be getting into some of the different things that have been talked about regarding the 49ers, some of these different narratives that have been coming out over the first 4 weeks. We're going to try to break those down, looking at the film for the 49ers defense against the Arizona Cardinals. Johnny, great to see you.
Oh man, great to be seen. Thank you so much for inviting me on and connecting. I know we've been talking about doing this for a while, and we've both been super busy, so it's good to connect.
Yeah, I really enjoy all the stuff that you do on YouTube, especially your breakdowns. You do it a little bit differently than I do, which is awesome. You've got some. You're a little bit more technical savvy than me. Being able to get on the technology, put all the route combinations up there, and then really get into it. You know what you're talking about, so that's fun, and you do a great job with it. So hey, and everybody keeps saying, Jack, you got to get together with Johnny, and we've done it a couple of times, but it's time to actually sit down and look at some film together.
Absolutely, I love it. I mean, there's very few things in life that are much better than talking 49ers football, especially when we're winning. I mean, it's not so great in like a Chip Kelly season, but right now, I mean, it's a good time to be a 49ers fan.
Yeah, it is 4-0, playing really good football, really good on the defensive side. We're going to get into the film here in a second, but one of the things for me when I look at the film and hearing some of the negativity around the defensive side of the ball, I really kind of scratch my head because this is a defense. I think they're like top 3 or 4 in terms of points allowed. They've been really good. I just don't understand some of the negativity around this defense.
I don't either. They're third in the league in points per game given up, behind the Bills and the Cowboys, both of which have played the Jets. So, I mean, playing Zach Wilson tends to help out your points per game situation as a defense. And they've also both played the Patriots, I believe, right? And maybe the Bills haven't. I can't remember. I was looking over so many things today; it's hard to remember. I know the Cowboys played the Patriots, and I mean neither of these are exactly stellar offenses. I'm not saying that New York or Pittsburgh or Arizona are stellar offenses. Of course, Arizona's offense to me is a lot better than people I think are giving them credit for.
Mm-hmm.
They were averaging 25 points per game outside of when they played the 49ers. So holding them to 16 points, 9 points below their average is something. And I will say Dobbs, when I went back and I watched, before the game, I went and watched their game with Dallas. I was really impressed with Dobbs going into that game, and then coming out of our game, I was just as impressed. I mean, the guy hung in there against some intense pressure, made some tight window throws, and really did some good things from quarterback. It was one of those, I'm looking at their game against Dallas, and I'm looking at their game against us, and I'm going, are we going to see Kyler Murray back on the field this year? If I'm Arizona, I'm going to think long and hard about it. I mean, with the way Dobbs played, to me, was more impressive than I've seen Kyler Murray the last year and a half. So, I thought that was a big thing. But like you said, they're third in the league in points given up. It's 14.5 points per game. For perspective, the Legion of Boom 2013 Seahawks that won the Super Bowl, right? That defense won the Super Bowl. Thank you to my wifey who's dropping some food off for me here at my office. She's trying to sneak in and sneak out. But the Legion of Boom defense was 14.44 points per game. Now, again, I get it. We haven't played some offensive powerhouses, but we've played some good teams that I think are better on offense than people give them credit for. And so I'm with you. I don't understand the full negativity on the defense. I think it's coming from... It's almost like the defensive version of the Josh Allen eyes, is that you see some of these things that other defenses are doing, and you wish yours was doing the same thing. We see the getting 11 sacks, the Seahawks getting 11 sacks on the Giants, and going, where was our sacks? And I go, the game plan was very different. New York came into that game saying, we're not going to let Javon Hargrave and Nick Bosa wreck our game plan. There just weren't. And so they were running 6, 7, 8-man pass protections almost every time Daniel Jones dropped back. Why they didn't do that more versus the Seahawks or the Cowboys, I don't know, because it was kind of like Dable just fed Daniel Jones to the Lions in those 2 games. But when it came to San Francisco, it was like, well, we're not going to let them sack Daniel Jones. But you're seeing that with almost every team that we're playing, is that And there was a graph that came out today on highest double team rate, and that Nick Bosa is being double teamed at the highest rate in the league again.
Mhm.
You see that it's on the film. The teams are chipping almost every single play. I mean, Cleveland Farrell got the his soul chipped out of him against Arizona as one of their receivers just jacked him up on a chip.
Yeah.
But you see that the resources that teams are devoting to this, they're having a wide receiver chip and then go out, and on the other side they're having a tight end help on Bosa so that they can have the center help on Hargrave. Like the teams are just devoting a lot to this defensive line, and that's what's it's hard because then if you play zone, you those zones get stretched out more. The
Yeah.
quarterbacks have more time. And you end up with players covering grass because, yeah, they're only dropping 3 receivers out, but you still are in zone, so you still have 4 guys covering grass, 3 guys covering grass. And you play man, well, now it doesn't really matter if you're, if you're if you don't have as many guys covering grass, they're still going to end up. They still have to account for their guy as if they could go out in the passing protection. And now you've got to hope that or believe that your guy is going to be better than the guy across from him.
Yeah, for me, I was impressed with Joshua Dobbs on Sunday as well. He stood in there, and he had a couple of times where they didn't get a sack on him, but they let him know that they were there. There was a couple of times where he got popped really hard. There was one on a completion out to the left side, and he got absolutely drilled by somebody like right in the face, right in his
That
chest.
was Hargrave. Yeah, it's Hargrave.
Yeah.
Hit him right as he threw. It was on third down. They're running I think it was a quick out from the inside, and I mean he put the ball right on the money, in stride to his guy, and they get a first down by like 1 or 2 yards. That's a moment you tip your cap and you go, dude, like
Yeah.
like
Yeah, exactly.
anybody makes that throw out there, you're going to be impressed.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's for darn sure. And then, the other thing too is Arizona came into that game. They were a really good offensive team in the first half in terms of scoring points on those drives to begin games. The 49ers were and still are. They did really well. But to come out in those first 2 possessions and shut the Cardinals down, Arizona hadn't had that happen to them in the first half of games this season. And the 49ers just took it to them, and before you knew it was 14-0. And I think that changes the way you play the game too. When you're up 2 scores, you're not necessarily going to play as much press. You're not going to worry about those types of things. You want to just keep everything in front of you, make the other team work their way down to score if that's what's going to happen. If they can work their way down the field and score, you kind of tip your hat to them. Otherwise, you just kind of playing a little bit softer. And I think that's a lot of this game, a lot of at least in this game against Arizona, I think that's where a lot of the frustration from fans came from is, all of a sudden you're seeing this defense that was so dominant, all of a sudden it's kind of feels like they're letting Arizona back into the game. And we've seen that kind of be their MO this season. They play really strong, and then it seems like they're letting off, when in reality all they're doing is really trying to make Arizona chew up the clock while they're moving the ball.
Yeah, you make that other team earn every single yard they're going to have. And the biggest frustration I had coming out was how Ambry Thomas was playing the 2-minute drill. I mean, it's because it was one of those of, dude, the one thing you don't do here is let them take a shot over the top or do anything. You keep everything in front of you. Make them earn every yard. Make them break a tackle. Make them, take more time. It drove me insane to see him. We were in a cover 3 Mabel, and he's in man coverage on the backside, isolated on a receiver. It was 3rd and 9, and he jumps on a 7-yard curl route. Like, dude. I'm pulling for Ambry Thomas. Like, I went into this season really hoping, because from a measurable standpoint, I love Ambry Thomas. He's got speed, he's got length, he's got what you want from an outside corner. But it's things like that just will make you pull your hair out, because you're going, it's 3rd and 9, and you're jumping on a 7-yard curl route.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, play the situation. A 7-yard curl route, whatever. You give up a 7-yard curl and they kick a field goal and it's 21-6. Big whoop. Like, you'll take that over giving up a 30-yard bomb. That's frustrating to me, is when you see stuff like that. And then they go after him the very next play. He's in cover 2 and they're running a smash concept. Yeah, they beat you conceptually, but you don't drive on the underneath route. You gain depth. You force that underneath throw. There's 28 seconds left in the half. You don't give a straight line throw on that. You got to make that be a layered throw. It's just, it's hard, man.
Yeah, and then Taylor Broussard, he's one of the good ones. Comes in all the time and really gets into our chats. He says, Steelers 12 play 95-yard touchdown drive, Rams 13 play 88-yard touchdown drive, Cardinals 13 play 87, Cardinals 11 play 97. Noise or data and time will know. I think Taylor, this kind of plays to at least more of what I was saying, and that you look at the 12 play 95-yard drive by the Steelers. That game was over with at that point. When that was, I think that's the one right at the end of the half. The Corners were already up 20-0. You don't want to give up that drive, but I don't think that was one of those tough ones. The Cardinals, both those drives, the Corners on the first one were up 21-3. The second one, there goes the Bosa Express right now going by, and then the other one was an 11 play 99-yard drive. That was when it was 21-10, I think was the score at that point. So two score games for all those. The only one that would concern me, it really did concern me of those, Taylor, where I got frustrated was the touchdown drive against the Rams, because that wasn't the situation in that game. That was a back and forth first half against the Rams. We saw them come out in the second half and make those adjustments and do better. But those other three that you're mentioning, yeah, they're long drives, but they don't really worry me all that much because of the game situation. So is it noise or data? I mean, it's a little bit of both. It's definitely data. It's a little bit of noise, and time will know. Yeah, we'll find out if this defense can come out this week against a better offense in Dallas and shut them down. Who knows? I mean, the Arizona Cardinals, who just gave up, 5 touchdowns to the San Francisco 49ers, they gave up only 16 points to this defense or this offense of the Cowboys. So, we'll find out. Yeah, I know. I think we'll see a little bit about what this 49ers defense is this week, but I don't know if the Cowboys are quite the juggernaut people are making them out to be yet.
Yeah, and that same Arizona team put up 28 on that Cowboys defense, who is number 1 in the league in points allowed. And what you saw in that is they also ran for 182 yards in the first half against Dallas. Mm-hmm. And I felt like the game on defense where we really saw a shift was after they went for that fake punt inside their own territory. And we often forget about that. Like, I literally did not watch it happen live because I think I was looking down at my phone. I was about to tweet something because I was just thinking it's just going to be a punt. We're probably going to fair catch it, and then we're going to go down and score. Mm-hmm. And it was like 4.5 minutes left in the half. And I mean, that was a gutsy call by Jonathan Gannon. I mean, it was like 4th and 3 at his own 22, 23 yard line, and he goes for a fake punt, and they barely get it. And then they went down and they scored. Mm-hmm. Okay, and they ate up the rest of the clock. Great, perfect 4-minute drill execution there. The 49ers kneel the ball because they get the ball with like 20 seconds left, and then they come out and the 49ers, we have our one drive in the game where we don't score, pin them at the half-yard line, and then they went on a 99-yard drive. But you saw it wasn't all this like they're just exploiting our defense. We had one rough play from Fred Warner on that drive, which we'll show later. But other than that, it was just like they were getting 4 or 5 yards here and there. And like you said, you're playing the situation. You're up 21-10 at that point. Your 2-score game. It's in the second half. You're looking to really bleed them out. And so, yeah, because what you don't want to do is do what they did later in that driving. That's give up the 35-yard play. You want to make them execute. And when you have a quarterback like Dobbs who doesn't have a ton of starting experience, you want to make him be perfect the whole game. Mm-hmm. And go on these long, perfect drives. You want him to get impatient. You want the pressure of, I'm down against this team that is whooping my defense. I've got to force something. And that's when you make a mistake. And to Dobbs' credit, he didn't blink. I mean, and still they scored 16 points. I mean, 16 points at the end of the day from a team that had just scored 28 on Dallas the week before. You'll take 16 points every single day.
What I found interesting about that, the Niners came into that game having allowed just 5 explosive plays all season. They gave up 3 against the Cardinals. There was 2 passes and a run, I think was where those explosives came from, because they had 5, now they're at 8. So they give up a few explosives. Oh yeah, it was the deep ball down the left side, the deep one that we're going to show that you just mentioned, where they beat Fred Warner, and then there was one run for more than 10 yards. So they gave up 3 explosives. As a 49er fan, excuse me, if you're worried about that, like, you got to remember, just take yourself back 1 week, 2 weeks before, when the Cowboys and the Cardinals met up the Cowboys gave up a number of explosive plays to this Cardinals offense. They gave up two explosive runs that I know of right off the top of my head. There was the long touchdown run from Rondale Moore for 45 yards, the scramble for Dobbs for 44. There was a deep ball from Dobbs in that game in the second half that was a big part of their score, the one touchdown drive that Arizona had in the second half against Dallas, which is very similar to the play that we're going to show today. So I think that you can take away that like kind of what you said. I think Arizona is a better football team than a lot of us thought. The way I like the way that they play, because they kind of play in the same style as the Philadelphia Eagles, which is a style that I like, that physical, tough, not that hard to figure out in terms of what you're going to do, but we're just going to come out and do it better than you. That's kind of what their style is on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I mean they're
like
they're all about high execution of sound principles, and you really saw that on defense. On defense, like when I watch the film, I'm sitting there going, Brock Purdy. It's hard to say that they really played bad. That he was 20 of 21. It wasn't like they were sitting here playing terrible coverage. There was moments where Shanahan was just breaking their coverage rules. There was other times where it was just better throws. Other times it was the receivers are just winning. But I didn't sit there and say, man, these guys were just busting coverages left and right. They're doing their no. When you look, they were playing within the scheme of their defense very well and very sound. The hardest thing was they were just getting out schemed on a few things, which was Shanahan on Gannon. But that team played a lot harder than you would think. And, as much as we like to bag on Jonathan Gannon for some of the awkward, to say the least, videos that were showing up before the season, and a lot of people were jumping on him, that dude has the team playing hard. I mean, when you watch all their games, that is not a team that is playing like they're going to be a 3-win team. That's a team that, I mean, they were playing hard. You could see the effort, especially against Dallas. You could see a high effort team on film. I was really impressed with the way that they played Dallas, and again, the way they played us. It was just, there's just a talent disparity there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the difference. They just don't have that talent yet. It's coming, but they don't have the talent like what we're going to see when the Niners go out to Philadelphia in December. It's a little bit different from a talent standpoint, but I thought it was a good showing, and that the 49ers get to see kind of what they're going to see in December. We understand that the talent level isn't there, the personnel isn't the same, but what they're going against was very similar. Real quick, Jeremy Price jumps in. He says, "What up, Jack? Greetings from Medellin." I think that's how you say it. Hopefully, if I blew it, maybe you can spell it out to me phonetically so I don't blow it the next time, Jeremy. Good to have you on board, though. Let's get into some of the film, though, because that's this show's title, for the film room. 49ers linebackers dominated against Arizona. So let's get into that, and then there's some things over in the chat. There was a big move the 49ers made today. I definitely want to get to that. I definitely want to address Red Eye's comment, the first one. I just in some of the things that I've listened to since this trade went down. We're going to get into that in a little bit. But first off, let's go ahead. Let's take a look at this 49ers film. Johnny was really nice enough to share some of his film with us. So we get some of the, when you watch me do my film breakdowns, guys, I don't have all the cool graphics. I'm not as smart as Jonnydel. I'm smart football wise. Johnny's smart football wise, but he's also smart when it comes to putting graphics on here and really be able to show you guys what's going on. And I enjoyed it too when I was looking through it. It was really interesting. And so, let's set this up really quick, Johnny. I know, one of the, if it's okay, I'll take the lead real quick. Yeah. One of the main things that people have talked about is the 49ers playing too soft in coverage, not getting enough up in the face of opposing offenses enough. And that's where this one comes from.
Absolutely, yeah. And so this will run one through, and then it'll rewind, and we'll see the coverage we're in. This was the very first third down of the game we gave up. It was like a 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. You can see the third down marker on the sideline. And you'll pause it here when it gets to the coverage. So this is cover one man, and we're showing this pressure look with the linebackers sugared over the gap. You have Fred Warner up over the B gap, and Dre Greenlaw up over the A gap. And so you're presenting pressure. They're playing back out to their side, I believe, is what I've seen from Wilks's scheme. So what they're going to do is they're both going to rush here, and wherever that back goes, that side will take him out in coverage. Arizona's running a mesh concept. This is a classic play that has been used to beat man coverage for a long time. You get a lot of it's mesh because it creates mesh points over the middle and a lot of traffic for guys to get through. And so Isaiah Oliver's up here pressed. The other two guys aren't, because when you have a bunch formation like this prevents the press. These guys get up there and try and press, and guess what? They're going to be running into each other, tripping over each other. You get automatic pick plays from the snap. So now what you'd like to see from Isaiah Oliver is a little bit a harder jam here to disrupt this release. But this is a play that, again, has been used for decades to beat man coverage. Mike Holmgren used to run this thing back with the 49ers in the 80s, okay? So you're going to get this mesh point over the middle, and you'll see how the drag coming across from the bottom is going to end up, that's Gibson on a tight end, is end up going to pick Oliver from following this shallow crossing route across the field.
Yeah, that's how it roll.
It will play, I promise. It's only a few
going.
second delay. Yeah. It's not, it's your screen is not, there's nothing wrong with your screen. And so there you get the pick action, and that frees the man up, and they get a first down. So when people are saying, man, we didn't play press man, we need to play more press man. Well, this is what can happen to you if you play press man. Suddenly now you can, the other team can run these pick plays on you and get you leveraged out, and you know, the guys on the other side are paid a lot of money to do this too. So it's not as simple as, okay, you just run press man, and it wasn't like we didn't. I saw probably 6, 7, 8 plays during these 2 touchdown drives they had where we were in press man and we got beat. You know, there was I think another turning point for points was Charvarius Ward got hit with a defensive pass interference call that was on the drive. Jake Moody had kicked the ball out of bounds. They got the ball at the 40-yard line. It was 3rd down, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, and we're in press man. Charvarius Ward gets called for pass interference. It would have been 4th down, punt the ball. They get a first down. They end up then converting a 4th down on that drive as well, and then kick a field goal. You know, so it wasn't like we were just giving up points like crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what I find interesting on this one as they're running through, you're right, you know, the mesh comes off of it, and that mesh across the middle is what rubs Isaiah Oliver off of the receiver. What I find interesting, he's not even the man that he's actually lined up on isn't even who he's chasing across the field. That's one of the things that I find interesting. It's how they're in this off man coverage with both Charvarius Ward and Diamond Lenore, and then kind of how they match up as this play goes through. Because you see, well, yes. I'm just going to say real quick. I'm just going to say, because you see how everybody's you see how Oliver's running with the guy that he's lined up on. You see Gibson following his guy across, but then the guy running vertically, he's going to pull Lenore out, right?
Yeah, and so they're playing a man match here. So Oliver is tasked with being the up man of if the inside guy goes vertical, of tracking the final number 3 across the field. So he's going to hand off the guy he's jamming, who's turning into the number 2 to Charvarius Ward, and he's got to pick up the final number 3. So, I mean, this isn't as simple sometimes as people say, you know, cat defense, I take this cat, you take that cat. Right. You know, there's a lot of moving parts here.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's really just the rub that gets him off, and there's off of the receiver, and there's really no way that he can play this. He can't go underneath it. The fact that he goes over the top is why he ends up making the tackle. And the other thing that I find interesting is that guy that he was on, who's running the hook over the middle, he's actually going to be covered as you're watching this. You can see Charvarius Ward right there on the hash at about the 33, 34-yard line. He's actually coming across the field to get to that hook, but he sees the ball going out to the crosser, and so he just keeps chasing it across the field as well. See that? You can kind of see him take a step up there. It's just a little interesting look at that how it plays out, because that's really good coverage across the board, and I don't know how they can play this any better.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you tip your cap to the defense. Like I said, people say you got to play press man. Well, it's not like it's not just your men are better than their men. You have the other side is going to do what they can to give their guys the advantage here. Offensive coaches are paid a lot of money, and this is why.
Yeah, and then let's look at it from this perspective. Now we can really focus more on the rush up front, where they've got, they're showing 6, they're going to bring 5, right? Because Greenlaw's on the running back,
right?
But this is pretty good pressure coming up still up the middle. That's not bad in terms of of their look, the ball just comes out so fast.
Yeah, and I mean, you got Bosa coming free at Dobbs, and I was almost hoping for a Geno Smith seeing Aaron Donald coming at a moment of, oh my god. And,
Yeah, because if you look at it from here, look, he's getting hit. This is he gets the hit on the quarterback right here. He gets a little mesh, and if he has to hold it for any reason, if that mesh point breaks down just a little bit, this is a sack for Nick Bosa. So that goes into the whole discussion in terms of that as well. Why is Nick Bosa not getting those sacks?
Yeah, and how you beat this play is with a different coverage. What you do is you have to play a zone here and sit on those crossing routes. And ideally here, most of the time, what's going to work best against this coverage is going to be some form of cover 2 or maybe a cover 6. Usually will help you beat this one a little bit better. And again, that answers to why you play zone later in the game. Well, you've been beat on this schematically. This isn't your player execution problem. This is schematically being beat. So then you come back, you change your scheme. And then people say, well, now you're playing all these soft zones. Well, that's why.
Right. Exactly. So that was the first one. I wanted to show you guys the whole, tough, tight coverage by the 49ers defense. Now we're going to show you some pressure. Is that right, Johnny?
Yes. Yep. Next one's going to be some pressure. And this was the third down we got off the field. We're trying to run a stunt here. I think I have it marked. If it'll play, that'll show. Oh no, I didn't. My bad. Where Javon Hargrave on the right, number 98, he's running a little stunt here with Drake Jackson. They're trying to get Drake Jackson to be free up the middle. The center plays this really well. So Javon Hargrave, his job is to attack the outside shoulder of the guard and then go and occupy the tackle. So he wants to occupy both those guys, let Jackson come underneath, and you have Fred Warner over the center because you're trying to draw him that direction and open up that lane for Drake Jackson. They pick it up really well. And so they pick up Drake Jackson. But this is where, again, Javon Hargrave, dude's been a monster. I mean, he has been a massive addition to this defense. He's going to split the double team, even though that's not even his job to win. He whips both the guard and the tackle almost instantly. We end up turning a route loose deep downfield. I think we were in cover 4. We're in a Palms coverage, and we turn a deep post loose, but Dobbs can never get there because Hargrave won on this, and he gets flushed out, and he has to check it down here on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, something like that. And Dre Greenlaw, who was fantastic in this game, dude just tackled everything. And this is the next play, but dude just tackled everything in front of him. And so, this idea of we're not getting the sacks. Well, sacks don't tell the whole story. This is as good of as a sack here because it forces a punt. Get a sack here, great. You get this play and it's a punt, great. You're still getting the ball back, and the offense is still able to go down and score.
Yeah, it's 3rd down. The only difference is that you're punting from a few. You'd be punting a few yards further back if you get the sack here. The other thing that I find interesting is they're in their wide 9, and you're going to get chips on both ends. You get a chip on Nick Bosa, and you get a chip over here on Drake Jackson as well. I think that chip kind of knocks him off his balance a little bit too.
Absolutely. And, again, you're seeing the resources that teams are devoting to this 49ers defensive line. When you're bringing 2 guys on chips, well, that means you only have 3 routes quickly releasing into the pattern. So, and on 3rd and long, well, that's fewer stretches of the defense you get. And this is, that's part of why they end up having to check it down because, well, you're chipping and you have these short things coming in, and then or short routes that are releasing out late, and then you can go make the tackle underneath. So they can devote all this stuff to protecting in their run because you also have the running back staying in. I mean, that's a lot that teams are doing to try and slow down this defensive line.
Yeah, I really, it's almost like on some of these, I wish I was watching that one right there on the full speed because when you watch that play, my vantage point when the 49ers play Levi Stadium, I'm really high, so I'm seeing the whole field because I'm up at the top of the stadium, and they're just playing so fast. Everything's going so fast on that front, and then he makes that throw, and it looks like they're going to be able to pick up some yards, but the closing speed of Dre Greenlaw to be able to come up and make that play, just fantastic stuff. And we're going to show a really nice defensive play out of the linebackers here in a minute, but So far, the first one we showed you that the nice tight coverage that they were able to get, even though it was a first down, but it was still an example of tight coverage, but just a good call from Arizona to beat that coverage. The next one we show you some pressure that they're able to generate, which leads to a completion for no gain. A nice play by Dre Greenlaw. Now what's coming up next, Johnny?
So we're going to have back-to-back plays here, and we're going to see one we play really, really well. The other one we don't play as well. And this is all about Fred Warner. So I think it'll play once, and then it'll come back, and it'll show the defensive scheme we're in. We can talk about that for a second, and then the play that's being run. This is one Fred Warner covers their wide receiver down the middle of down the field like a boss. I mean, this is really impressive. So you pause it here. This is what we call cover 3 Mabel, which is it's a matching zone. So you have a matching zone to the trip side or the 3 receiver side, and the 2 receiver side is going to be in a man and match. So Ambry Thomas is here would be the boundary side. So he's on the short side of the field, single receiver side. He's in man. So he's going to be Meg coverage, man everywhere you go. So he's in man, just straight man there. He's going to play that, and it's always usually played bump and run there. And then the flat, which is Greenlaw, he's going to have to match the number 2 that comes out. So the second receiver from the sideline. Wherever he goes out that side, he will have to match. Everything else, there's a lot of different rules there. I believe last time I read through the rules of Mabel coverage, the Mike has like 8 rules that he follows. Number 1, if this does that. Number 2, and I can't remember all of them sequentially exactly what it is. I know that number 1 is usually any vertical in route from number 3. That's one thing he's got to watch for, and that's what we're going to get on this play, and you can play it. So what they're going to do is they're going to clear out here with Ambry Thomas, and they're going to run a dagger concept. So you're going to get a post across the field and then a deep in behind it. This is something we run every single week, is a dagger concept. So Fred Warner is going to then match this number 3 across the field, does a fantastic job, sees it, doesn't bite for the eye candy, covers it all the way down the field. I mean, look at this. He turns, locates the number 3, walls him off, perfect coverage. That's exactly how you draw this up. Okay, now this is on their 99-yard touchdown drive. So you can let it play, and it's going to do the same thing. It's going to run through, and then it's going to come back and show the coverage.
Okay.
And then that, what we'll do is it'll pop up on the offensive play, and I'll talk about the offensive play a little bit and why this ends up working. I think Fred was a little surprised they came back to this play, considering it didn't work the first time. So again, we're in Mabel coverage here. So it's a cover 3 matching zone with the single receiver in man. That's what Mabel means. It's an M word for man. So you get the clear out and then the dagger concept, and then it should have one more clip here, pause it there, of what makes this play. I actually really like this design from an offensive standpoint, because what you're going to do is they're going to pull the guard, and this is going to look like a quarterback power. So it's going to look like a little option, quarterback power, and Dobbs is going to roll to his left. And so what this does is it is against these matching zones, you're going to have Fred Warner is going to be in a bind because he's got to respect the quarterback power, because Dobbs has been running for a lot of yards, and he's going to get drawn away from the direction that the route he's going to be tasked with matching is going. And so it's going to put him in a bind. Same with, I think it's Hufanga on that side. The idea is you're working 1, which is the post route, to 2, the dig route, and so it really stresses the inside of the field with this eye candy. And while Fred Warner didn't bite on it the first time, he bites on it this second time. So Fred Warner's going to bite on the quarterback action a little bit more, and he's late to match the post route over, and they get a huge chunk gain. And so again.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you can see right now, because we know what's coming. You can see right now that he's already stepped up, and he's already beat at this point. He's already in a chase. He's now having a chase. He's already in a bad spot just from the fact that you saw him take a little bit more of a pause, a little bit more of a step to the run. See him kind of step up there just a little bit.
And that's all it takes. I mean, it's just a few steps. This is the NFL. It doesn't matter if it's the Cardinals. It just takes a few steps and you're beat. And so again, people will say, well, we're playing too much soft zone. We're not playing enough press man. Well, this was a huge play on their scoring drive. I mean, this was one of the 3 explosives we gave up. And while we like to say corner, because we, had the couple plays by Ambry Thomas, this one's on Fred Warner. And again, though, Fred played a really good game, but I guarantee you, Jack, if you asked Fred about this at the podium, he'd tell you, yeah, this one's on me. They got me on that one. But again, it's just a situation of when the team's able to get those little 3-4 yard runs, and this you're getting a little late in the game on a drive, and you've had a couple drives back and forth. It's just little miscues here and there. But overall, I mean, if a team's best bet is that Fred Warner is going to be wrong most of the time, they're going to lose, and we've seen that.
Yeah, and even here, they're giving up an explosive, but what they're able to do is they're able to make the stop. It's not a touchdown. It's not a 65-yard touchdown. They end up scoring a touchdown, but they still get the stop here at the 20, and that's the positive of the play. And Taylor wants to take a look at the defensive line on this one. I'm not, I don't have a problem. The defensive line is kind of in the same position as the linebacker here. They're respecting and reading the run, and I don't, yes, he's there because of that read of the run. That's what's creating the space for Dobbs. But Dobbs gets the ball to his hand quick here. It's one step and out.
Yeah, I mean, this is Dobbs is on time on this. He throws with good anticipation. This is what I mean. Like Dobbs played a lot better than you think. Like they have to respect run, then boom, he flips his hips and out. I mean, that's the kind of play we've seen from Brock Purdy that we've been really impressed by, right? Is Brock Purdy will run these sorts of plays exactly this way, and we give Brock Purdy all of his flowers. We see Dobbs run this play, and we say, oh, something's wrong with our defensive line. I mean, I don't necessarily. They have to respect that run. You got to tighten up these coverages on that, and you can see, Fred Warner's body language too, as it comes out, is kind of the same thing of like, he kind of turns and walks away from it, like doesn't want to almost acknowledge what just happened. You could tell he's frustrated. Because again, that's his man, but Fred's great on these things 9 times out of 10.
Right. And that's the thing. Everybody's going to get beat. I mean, Deion Sanders got beat, at times back in the day when he was playing, right? All these guys, if you're a defensive player, you're going to get beat at times. I look at this one, and the defensive line doesn't get there. But again, like you said, that was what I was going to mention. We talk about this with Brock Purdy, like on the deep ball that he threw to Brandon Ayuk, his ability to hit his back foot, one hitch, and the ball comes out. That's the same thing here. It's just play action, get to his back step, one hitch, and the ball comes. It's perfect quarterback play from the quarterback here to go ahead and get that ball out.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, like we were talking about earlier, it's one of those. I'm looking at this and going, these aren't things that make me sit here and go, these are systemic problems on the defense, or we've got to make wholesale changes. I'm literally seeing people comment on my latest video and be like, fire Wilkes, and I'm like, fire Wilkes? We're third in the league in points given up. I mean, come on.
Yeah, they're right there, And then I'm going to pull up some. This is the beginning of the game. Early on, I felt like going into this game, I talked about this in the pregame, and it was that the Cardinals offense was really good in the first half games. And so get a couple of stops early, get them down, and then that really forces them to not be able to run the ball. It gets them out of what they want to do. They're not able to just continue to pound James Conner. And we saw that. Conner only had 11 carries in this game, 14 were by Dobbs. So this is the opening play. I'll let you kind of take us through it real quick. It's just a normal film. I don't have any stops.
Yeah. So, and this is a good job of disguising coverage here. It's not the very first play. It's the second or third play. I do apologize.
It's okay.
So we'll let it run, but
I'll talk about this one real quick because I like this play because I like Fred Warner's, like how quick he gets to this ball, right? They're throwing it into that little, they're just playing zone,
it's just a spacing concept, and I mean, we hit this play twice against the Cardinals, so I mean it's a great zone beater.
Yeah, and and I just like he's running right to it, and it's a hard hit, it's a quick play. You're gonna give up if you give up a short underneath throw like this, that was it's whatever. They came back from that and they shut him down on the next 2 plays.
And another point here that I've seen people saying, we aren't disguising defense as much as we did with D'Amico Ryans. Well, you did right there. They bring the receiver across in motion. Isaiah Oliver travels with him. We're going to see, again, a travel here, and then we go to zone. Or this one was man, but that previous one, we went to a zone coverage. Instead of playing man, we show man with the motion pre-snap and drop to a zone. That's disguising. That's making Dobbs work post-snap, and he did.
Yeah, and then Dre Greenlaw firing through and making his tackle.
Dre Greenlaw was so fun to watch in this game.
Yeah, both the linebackers were really good. 10 tackles, 8 solo for each of them, according to Pro Football Focus. Just a really, or ESPN's stats. So it's really a really solid day. They were both very active.
I mean, super active, and their closing speed is just different, and it's so fun to watch. Like their closing speed is just different than most teams. And again, here I think you're going to get another disguise here that we travel, and then I think we play zone on this, if I remember this one right. Yeah, we drop out to a zone. Again, you're seeing that travel and then zone. That's disguising. We end up beating it. I do remember now. I think it's the first play of the second drive that the play I was thinking about. Because then here, with this disguise of the traveling, you get a little bit of a miscue here between Dobbs and the tight end on a side adjust route. And yeah, was there a little interference from Greenlaw? Maybe, but we're 49ers fans. We don't think there was.
Yeah, he's a little bit past that 5-yard window to not get called on that, isn't he? Just a little bit.
It's debatable. It's debatable.
It's right. That was a really close one. I remember thinking that they got a little bit of a break on this one.
Yeah, and I think there's also Dobbs is expecting him to break out, and he breaks in, and again, that's part of this disguise that Oliver's traveling. It looks like man coverage, and then you drop out into a zone. Gibson drops late. You're in a little 2 zone here, and the ball's off target and everything.
Yeah, I think the ball being off target is kind of what saved them here. The throw was just not close. If the throw had been a little bit closer, they might have got the call.
Yeah, this is the play. So again, we see a rotate of the defense, and then that's not this play. I'm trying to remember. There's a screen pass that we have here. It's really early in this game. This is one got physical again. Showed man on the early motion, and then played zone. This is what you want to do. You want to make that quarterback work pre-snap to post-snap. So you're giving a man coverage look here, motion, travel, and then you're going to see back out and play zone. Zone underneath, and there it is. You're matching. It's great. Yeah,
and the other thing too is the pressure. Gets to him. Got to get the ball out quick. Just how fast. They're getting moved quick, so he feels like he needs to get the ball out fast, and then the defender being right there when the ball gets there. It shows you how in tune I think the 49ers defense is with what's going on, because that's going to be a really nice play if that's a completed pass by Isaiah Oliver for a tackle for a loss. He's right there.
Yeah. The Bosa Express coming through again.
Yeah, no, it comes through about every 45 minutes or 40 minutes or so. So we get it a few times a show. It's one of the novelties here of the Inside the 49ers show. We get that. We'll have dogs barking. Today we had people using their leaf blower. It's one of the fun things about doing your show in the backyard.
Oh, I totally understand. I was the week of the Giants game. Actually, the day after the Giants game, I was in Washington for my niece's wedding. And the whole day right before the wedding, it was an outdoor wedding. We're in this community, and there's a guy running a leaf blower, and my sister was just freaked out that it was going to be up until the ceremony that they were going to sit there and run that leaf blower. This is when we get a defensive holding call on Javon Hargrave, and you can see it. He's the defensive tackle on the right side. He's gonna reach out and grab. He holds with. There's no question about that one.
Yeah, it doesn't impact the play by both sides on their side, but it is a hold for sure.
Yeah, he reaches out and grabs that guard and just says, "Nope, you're not getting to the second level."
You're not. The fact that he could stand there and just hold that guy with one arm like that, though, that's very impressive.
Yeah, it's one of these plays really early. I promise it's here. I promise this is a false start, and it's early here. They do have twins to the one side, and they're gonna bring. I think this is the play. It should be. Yeah, you're going to see a little screen pass here, and the linebackers drive. Now, I really actually liked the design by Arizona here. So what they're going to do is these 2 receivers to the bottom, they're both going to run basic routes. It's going to be 12 to 14-yard in routes. And the way we're in cover 3 zone, and the way that Lenore is coached on this is that he's gonna match that basic route from the outside, and then they're gonna run a wheel route behind that from this receiver that's motioning across. And again, the way that we run our defense, Isaiah Oliver has to match that. So this is a zone, but we have to match on these routes. This is how you're tasked with matching. This is a play. It looks like a play that Kyle Shanahan runs a lot. He calls it cross. Usually it's called cross basic, but the cross is a mesh, and then we add a basic in there where it's a basic with a wheel route behind it, and it's to beat matching zones like this, so that you get that outside corner to match it, and then you have that wheel route running down the sideline. Great example of this would be the shot to McCaffrey down the sideline that was almost a touchdown against the Giants. Same play. When Jimmy missed Kyle Juszczyk down the sideline against the Titans, same play. Okay. So what that causes is that side of the field, both your deep corner and your curl flat player on that side are cleared out. And then you're going to run a screen pass in behind it. So I really like that design. It really attacks what San Francisco does from their coverage rule standpoint. So this is really good design by Arizona, but they get nothing on it because of Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah, their ability, that's the difference to me. If you don't expect those linebackers to be able to get over there. And Fred gets there, but he doesn't make the tackle. But then Dre Greenlaw to get there and clean this thing up. Look at the closing speed, but he never slows.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, these guys were just flying 100 miles an hour, hitting everything, and it was just so fun to watch. I mean, there's so many plays like this where it'd be like, oh, that could have been a decent gain, but no, these guys were flying 100 miles an hour and just coming with force and tackling and blowing everything up.
Mm-hmm. You know, and you know, you get the missed tackle, and that shows the that swarming to the ball of this defense and the way that they get there to be able to get there, take that play away from them, and leave it to no gain, and then finish that drive off really nice.
Yeah, I mean, a play that when I'm looking at it schematically wise, that should have been a massive win for Arizona, and they get a loss of 1 yard. Like, that's crazy. Or I guess they got 4 yards because it was 2nd and 15, something like that. You know, but like, I mean, I don't have a lot of worries about this defense.
Right. And then, you know, we get the question here from Glass City with the super chat. It says, what do you guys think of our red zone defense if offensive coordinators are going to use the quick pass game to march down the field? Then our red zone defense needs to step up. The D is 7 of 13 in the red zone. Your thoughts? I'll let you go, Johnny.
You know, that's below where you want them to be. That's over 50%. Allowance in the red zone. Generally, most teams are going to have a target point of 35%, 40%. You know, that's what you'd like to see. That's the goal. That's where you want to get. And it's been different things. You know, some of it's been some miscues in the run game. I thought Arizona, again, had a good schematic attack for what we do. They ran something that's very similar to what the Seahawks ran against us Week 17, 2019, where Dre Greenlaw stopped him just short of the goal line. Very similar to what Seattle ran against us, is what they ran to get a touchdown at the end of that 99-yard touchdown drive. You know, I feel like, yeah, I want to see him do better, but at the same point, it's still early in the season. Red zone defense is one of those things that tends to tighten up throughout the season. And especially, let's look back to DeMeco Ryans' defense from last year. It wasn't like DeMeco Ryans' defense started out the year last year red hot. You know, we had the game, the monsoon in Chicago, and people were busting on the defense for losing that game, right? They only gave up 16 points, but apparently they lost the game was what the narrative came out, because they had a couple busts that they gave up against Justin Fields, right? And then you have the game in Atlanta. They give up 21 points. It's 28 points in the end, but the defense only surrendered 21 of that. There was a fumble return for a touchdown. But, you know, they couldn't stop Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota is looking fantastic. He started the game like 13 of 13, something like that. It wasn't like they were lights out in that game. Even the Carolina game, I think Carolina scored 19 points. They scored more than any team this year, except for the Rams this year playing against us. You look at the Kansas City game. The Kansas City game from Football Outsiders with DVOA was graded as 372nd worst game out of 372 games that they've scored on the 49ers. As far as defensive DVOA, it was the worst game that since they started doing that in 2000. I mean, we're talking this was the worst defensive performance since even beating like the Erickson teams and the Mike Nolan teams. Like, that's not good. They gave up 42 points. It was after that game that the defense like decided they needed to be the defense, and part of it was they got healthy, but they were playing so much more sound. They were started playing so much tighter on everything, and then they took off like a rocket at the end of the year last year. We forget how good the defense was playing at the end of the year last year. I mean, holding Tom Brady to 3 points, I think was what it was, 7 points, something like that, and it was the back half of the season that they really turned it on. And we have a new defensive coordinator this year. You have a couple new pieces on defense. So, I'm not real concerned about where the defense is right now. If you're giving up 14.5 points a game, I'm not concerned about that going into week 5.
Yeah, and I'm kind of with you on that. I think you look at it, the red zone touchdown percentage, that's not good. You don't want it to be that high. But at the same time, you need to take a step back and you say, well, how many times are opponents even getting into the red zone against the 49ers? I think that's the flip side of this, right? And the 49ers are one of the top teams in the league in terms of not allowing opponents to even get into the red zone. They're number 4 right now in that number. They've only allowed 2.3 red zone scoring trips per game. That's the 4th lowest in the NFL this season. So, again, I think we need to take into account the whole picture. If we just take a look at one thing, the red zone, to answer your question, Glass City, yes, you want to get that number down. We need to take a look at how often they're getting into the red zone, which isn't very many. And then what is the game situation when they're getting into that? I mean, obviously, you don't want to allow them to score again. I want to make sure that I'm clear on that. It needs to be better, right? But at the same time, it's when is that happening? How often is it happening? And I think when you look at it, they're really solid in terms of not allowing teams to get into that area. And I think it's really more of a situational piece. Steve Wilkes mentioned that, I think, after the game against Pittsburgh. He talked about how he coaches to the situation. If it's depending on how the game's playing and those types of things, they're gonna make some changes. It was actually after the Rams game because he struggled a little bit in that first half, and they came out, they made the adjustments, and they shut him down. And we focus so much when we talk about the defense on the defensive coordinator. We talked, last year D'Amico Ryans, before that Robert Saleh, now it's Steve Wilkes. One of the things that we don't talk about, I think, enough is Kyle Shanahan's impact on the defense and those adjustments that they're making at halftime.
Absolutely. I mean, that is one thing that throughout Kyle Shanahan's tenure has kind of been a hallmark of this defense is their ability to come out in that second half and really start choking what teams want to do. And some of it is Kyle's ability to really get into the mind of an offensive play caller and say, okay, this is what they've been hitting you with in the first half, so they're going to be coming out with this now. And because he understands exactly where this is going and is able to look into that and see and say, okay, now this is what we're going to do. And this is what they have to do to continue to build upon what they've done. And so we're going to change up and do this. If you did this to me, I would have a really hard time. And that's where they're able to do that. And because, like I said, last year, that was a hallmark of this defense when they're on their great run is I remember like the Chargers game. We came out and they had a couple long drives early in the game. And then it was like all of a sudden the defense came out in the second half and just shut them down. Did the same thing to the Rams, just didn't allow anything in the second half where they come out and they just – and it wasn't like they were doing all these crazy coverages. That's where I'm also a little confused with people saying we need to play more press man. I'm like, most of the time what we were doing is coming out in the second half playing Palms coverage the whole time, which is a form of cover 4, and matching everything that the other team was trying to do so well and tackling everything underneath. Like, that's when we were on our tear at the last half of the season, most of what you saw was what we would consider soft zone. That was a vast majority of what you saw with D'Amico Ryans. D'Amico Ryans ran zone more than any other defensive coordinator in the league, and it wasn't even close. He was zoned something like 90% of the time, and most of that was in some form of palms or cover 3. Like, that's generally what we ran, or it'd be like Tampa 2. These are not up press defenses. These are limit the deep plays kind of defenses and let things tackle underneath and match it up well.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, and I think this defense is playing better than the general perception. And even with how good I think they're playing, they went out, they made a trade today. Randy Gregory, it's been a big topic in the comment section. We're going to get to it now real quick. I like the move. I think it's a low risk, high reward type of move. All they did was swap their 6th-round pick for a 7th-round pick. They get a player who doesn't cost them anything in terms of, really against the cap. It's only $800 and something thousand dollars. Denver's holding on to all that cap, so that's good. Thank you, Denver. And we'll see if it plays out and it works out for the 49ers. Fantastic. You look at Gregory's numbers. I was take a look at them earlier today. I'm basing this off of what they have on Pro Football Focus for pressure. Nick Bosa, his pressure percentage, 14.8% of his pass rush snaps. He's generating a pressure. Drake Jackson, number 2 on the 49ers at 9.3. And then you get the Randy Gregory, 8.8 so far this season with the Denver Broncos. Kerry Hyder was at 8.7. Cleveland Farrell at 5.5. What's interesting about what I just said, the 49ers had to move a player off of their 53-man roster to make room for Gregory. It was Kerry Hyder that they released to make room for Gregory. But you can see Gregory fits in really nice with what they're doing right now in that pass rush percentage on this defense.
Yeah, and I think they're still looking for somebody to fit that Omenahu Arden key role. I think they were hoping that was going to be Cleveland Farrell. That's just, my theory because of the athleticism. But they've ended up needing him to take on that Samson Ebukam role. And I think they're still looking for somebody that they can bring in and be a third, faster, more athletic guy for that lighter package that they like to put over a guard and then run all sorts of stunts, or just let them use their athleticism against a guard and be able to do that. And Gregory kind of fits that. Either you can, because he gives you some options. You can put him in at defensive end, give Cleveland Farrell some rests out there, because Cleveland Farrell's been playing a lot of snaps is what I'm seeing. And you can do that, or you can bring Drake Jackson inside, have Randy Gregory outside as your bookend against Nick Bosa. So I love the pickup, because, like I said, the 49ers are probably going to be picking near the end of the 6th round, and that Denver pick's looking like it's going to be at the top of the 7th. So you're not moving back hardly at all. I mean, this is literally just a move back of maybe, 8-10 spots max in the draft, maybe? I mean, it's early, I know, but that's what I'm seeing. I'm like, you're not moving back that far in the draft at the very end of the draft, and you're getting a guy for a vet minimum that has been productive and has been a force. And obviously, somebody thought well enough of him that there was a bidding war to pay him a pretty good chunk of change there in Denver. And obviously, there's been some, as for what it sounds like, some character concerns there and some things of him not fitting in well there in Denver. But from what I understand, Kasurek really liked the pick and really liked him and wanted to go get him. And I think in this scheme, I think he can do really well.
Yeah, I think there's some room to fit in. I want to address this comment really quick by Red Eye, and I'm not, this isn't a comment on you, just kind of a response to this, because he says, Randy Gregory, mixed reviews, past drug issues, don't know how long he's sober, has the size but slower. Now he's 30, good size, 6'5", 242, suspended for a year, cut by the Cowboys because of the drug issues. I just kind of want to address this really quick, because I know that this is going to be a topic, and it's fine. It's part of his history. And one of the things with Gregory, he's dealt with injuries in his career. But one thing I think a lot of people don't know is he has a social anxiety disorder. And I think that social anxiety disorder is part of the reason why he got involved with the drug use. The drug use wasn't anything that they even would test for now. It was marijuana. It was the drug that he was continually getting suspended for. And it kind of makes sense. If you're somebody that has social anxiety issues, that you might turn to something that's going to not make you as anxious anymore. And so that's, I think, where that goes. And I was listening to the radio right after the trade was made, and listening to Brad Sham, who was the radio guy for the Dallas Cowboys, and what he had to say about Randy Gregory. He was very positive. He has no reason to say anything positive about Randy Gregory, because Randy Gregory's not a member of the Cowboys anymore. He's another team. Now he's playing with the 49ers, which is the rivalry. So there's really no reason for him to say anything positive, right? Unless there is something that he really feels positive about. And he says, but he says, I just really like the young man. I have a great deal of admiration for the amount of work he had to do so he could get his medical problems under control and play freely. And that's, again, that medical problem is that social anxiety disorder and what he was doing there. And then the other thing that Sham said is that, about Randy Gregory, kind of like along the lines of what you're talking about, he's more than just a pass rusher. He is good against the run and just a really good football player. And so I think, you look at it, and again, I see this as just, total upside if it works out. If it doesn't work out, you're not losing anything.
Yeah, he's got no guaranteed money that the 49ers have to pay him. They're carrying all the dead cap. So, okay. I mean, this is a very, very low risk thing. And the 49ers were sitting there. They probably were thinking about picking him up at waivers, but then thinking he's not going to make it to us on waivers. And so what do? You move a few spots back in the draft, and now you go get your guy where a team like the Rams can't jump you for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got him, and you're good to go. And then the other thing here too, Randy, just speaking on Gregory for a second, 49er fans know this guy because they dealt with him in last season in week 3 against the 49ers when he was playing with Denver last year. He had 6 total pressures against Jimmy Garoppolo in that Sunday night game that ended up being a win for Denver. He got a sack on Garoppolo, he hit him once, and he forced 4 hurries. Had a pretty good game against the 49ers there. There's another comment here talking about his sack totals being modest. Yeah, they're not that high. He doesn't have very many. But the other thing to think about is Randy Gregory hasn't played a lot. He's only played 1,800 snaps in 6+ years. This is the 7th season in the NFL. He's only played 1,800 snaps. Of those 1,800 snaps, over 900 of them came in just 2 seasons, in 2019 and 2021. And in those 2 seasons, when he played 473 snaps, one of them, the other one was 453, the most snaps of his career. Guess what happened? Stacks followed. He got 6 in each of those seasons. So he just needs to be able to stay healthy. And Chris Kosarick has a history of getting the most out of defensive linemen. So I like this move. I think it's positive, and we know that you've got a lot of really good pass rushers here in San Francisco. I keep talking about it. Nick Bosa, Javon Hargrave, and Eric Armstead. I love that trio. That guy opposite of him just needs to be able to win one-on-ones. And if Randy Gregory can come in and show that he can win one-on-one matchups, he can help this team out.
Absolutely. And if all he does, if what most of he does is able to play base downs and give Cleveland Farrell some rest so that they can bring him in and add a little bit of juice on some of those stunts and twists that they do, hey, that's a win too. I mean, I don't see this as anything but negative. Again, you're dropping out Kerry Hyder and you're bringing him in. And one thing I noticed is that when we brought in our second wave defensive line, especially in this Cardinals game, about half that 99-yard touchdown drive was against the second wave defensive line. And so, there's a situation there. They're wanting to get more production out of that second wave. And if Randy Gregory's only playing 30% of your snaps, I don't have a problem with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a good move, and we'll see how it all plays out. And it's not just that guy opposite of Nick Bosa either. Nick Bosa gets some plays off every once in a while too. So the 49ers have I think the 49ers have a really good rotation. And when you look at the 49ers pass rush, I know we just focus on sacks because sacks are great, but everything that goes into it helps you get a stop or can help you to cause problems for the quarterback. So I like to look at it from a standpoint of you've got your hurries, you've got your hits, and you've got your sacks. You put all those together, and that's what you're doing. And the 49ers have the second most pressures on the quarterback this season. They're not 97. That's not. I think it's the only team that has more. There's only one team that has more than them. There's 2 now because somebody played last night. But of the teams that have only played 4 games, there's only one team that has more pressures on the quarterback than the 49ers. And they really get after the ball. The only other team that has more actually than the 49ers is the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, and that's got a big time skew on that stat from playing the New York Giants, where they were just literally in the backfield against Daniel Jones every single play. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, I mean, now again, we played the Giants, but you're right. It's like I don't see any pull the fire alarm situations here.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's good. I think the 49ers are in a good situation. I think this defense is going to show how good they are on Sunday night. I feel really positive about this game in terms of their ability to go out and make a statement. I think the 49ers want to make a statement, and I know the Cowboys do. Real quick, I didn't ask you this before, but what's your prediction for Sunday night?
So
put him on the spot.
I'll preface this with I hate Dallas. Okay, I hate Dallas.
Okay.
As a kid who grew up in the 90s, I hate Dallas, and so I don't ever want to even give them any sort of credence or credit or anything. So I'm going to take my analyst hat off. I'm going to say it's 35-30. 35-3 for the 49ers because I don't want to admit that they're going to score a touchdown against our team, and I don't want to admit they're going to stop us from scoring a touchdown. My analyst hat would say this is going to be a lot closer than that, but my fan hat says 35-3 49ers all the way because Dallas sucks.
there you go. I don't have it quite that. I think it's going to be a little bit more high scoring than it was last year. Last year 19-12. I think this year. Right now, my prediction is that it's going to be 49ers 30. They got to score 30. They got Brock Purdy, right? The 30 for Purdy's got to continue to roll on.
Exactly.
So I got 30 for the 49ers. I got 20 for Dallas. And really the reason I get the 30 is I think the 49ers offense has been so good in the first half. I think they're going to be able to sustain that against Dallas. I just feel like they have the ability to get some explosive plays on this team. Their ability to run after the catch, I think, is going to be a big part of this game for San Francisco. And I have them scoring 17 to 20 points in the first half, and then the second half is kind of the way that you would expect this game to play out, and just kind of run it, burning the clock and getting this game over with. So I've got 30-20 Cowboys. Or 30-20 49ers over the Cowboys. It's going to be fantastic. I
can't argue with your logic.
There we go. Hey, Johnny, I appreciate you coming on and sharing the film with us and really going through this with me. It's I know we've talked about this for a long time, and to get you come on and do the defensive side with me, a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I always love talking film, 49ers, everything. So thank you so much for bringing me on, Jack.
Yeah, you're killing it over there. I see your reviews. You're doing really good over there. I got a long way to go to catch up to Johnny. Hopefully, if you're watching the show, hopefully you're already subscribed to Johnny's channel. If you haven't, make sure you get over there and you do that. Before you leave here, if you guys can do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and then also make sure that you turn on your notifications. You don't want to miss any of those. Saturdays usually tend to be my best days in terms of the shows that I put out. So let's see. Hopefully tomorrow I can come up with something and you guys are going to like it. So check it out. Like, subscribe, turn your notifications, get over to Johnny's channel as well. And do the same. And thanks everybody for tuning in on a Friday evening. Have a great rest of your evening. Keep it locked in here to 49ers, inside the 49ers with Jack Hammer, where you're breaking news and information on the team. Thanks so much, guys. Take care. Johnny, again, thanks so much.